Welcome everyone. I hope that you can hear me now quite well, you can see me quite well, and there are no technical issues this time. Welcome to the Medical Futurist Q&A session here. My name is Meskó, I'm the Medical Futurist. And if you don't know me or the Medical Futurist itself, the Medical Futurist is a team, 12 quite great experts in different fields, and we are trying to help physicians, policymakers and patients globally better understand digital health technologies and where healthcare is heading in general in the 21st century. And today we have a special topic to cover because in every session we've had about 20-25 live Q&As in the past couple of months. Every time there are 5 or 10 questions about the future of medical specialties, the future of physicians, future of doctors. And of course we wanted to dedicate a whole session to this amazing topic. And plus, as we have done some analysis on this area before at the Medical Futurist Institute, it makes sense to dedicate a whole session to this. It's not only for students, it's also for those working in those medical specialties and for people in and outside healthcare, because all of us are impacted by how these medical specialties will change. So I plan to share with you some analysis we've done about the impact of digital health on different medical specialties, the future of doctors as a big picture in general, and I plan to answer your questions. Thank you so much for all of you for being here and for asking great questions already. And also we received some questions in advance through the Eventbrite website, so I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible. Maybe it makes sense to cover why we do this. My childhood dream was to become a medical scientist, a medical researcher. So I went into medical school, and when I finished medical school, I already worked in a lab of biochemistry and genomics for months. So I started my PhD before even getting my diploma. And then when I finished PhD and I became a medical scientist, I felt that something was missing from my life. So I switched to futuristic studies. And I realized later that my geek self was very loud in myself, talking about the importance of technology. So I wanted to have a scientific field to focus on, where I can use my researcher self, my physician self, and my geek self. And that's what I do today. My full-time job is to analyze how advanced technologies impact medicine, healthcare, and the lives of patients. So I've been doing this, and I will share with you some of these analysis today. Plus, again, please feel free to leave some questions in the chat section. We have our editor-in-chief, Meskó, in the chat with you. She will send a few links to you if we have an article covering your topic. But just going back to this journey, I know every career choice is difficult to make. I know that all of us have individually unique journeys. You see, I've had my quite unique journey too. And I don't even see the end of it. I guess I will keep on rediscovering myself and my needs, and I will keep on shaping my field of science. I guess I would do the same if I decided to keep on practicing medicine as a physician, but it's very individual. So I won't give you career advice. That's I hope it's quite obvious, but I will do my best to give you some insights about how we futurists look at the future of these medical specialties. One more thing here. If you're interested in, and these are the questions we receive the most of the time, that you wanted to know the future of psychiatry, for example. You are thinking about going into psychiatry and you are intrigued by how psychiatry will change in 15 years. Nobody can tell you that, not even psychiatrists. But as a futurist, my job is to give you a kind of perspective that would help you make your own assumptions. And I will share with you today these perspectives, what kind of easy methods you can use to make your own assumptions. So this way, you don't have to wait for a futurist to tell you which medical specialty to choose or which area within healthcare, digital health, or science to pursue, but you will be the one making the decision because you have all the information that you need. So welcome guys in the chat section. Leon BB, I want to know about psychiatry and neurosurgery and emergency medicine's future. The more precise questions you can give to me, the more precise answers I can provide. In general, we have articles about the future of surgery, future of psychiatry, and future of emergency medicine on medicalfuturist.com. We have analyzed every aspect of those specialties, but if there's something that really interests you within these areas, just let me know and I will do my best to give you an answer. Kanishka Chakraborty, what do you think will be the future of neurosurgery in 40-50 years? I'm smiling because literally nobody knows. In 50, not even in 40 or 50. I'm a short-term futurist. Coming from medicine, being a physician, I cannot talk about the science fiction-like future. So even focusing on the next 15 years, not even 20 or 30, nobody knows. So yeah, please try to be more specific and then I might be able to help. Alright, you have another question about this. Will machines like Da Vinci, the surgical robot, completely automate the surgical processes with strides of advancement taking place in deep learning? There are procedures where surgical robots, even fully automated surgical robots, have a future, like in ophthalmology. But in most areas, if you ask surgeons how they see the role of surgical robots in the future lives, even 10 years from now, they will be most of them will be very conservative, that we will use these tools, but these will not replace the job of the surgeons. Right now, about 3% of surgical procedures take place with the help of surgical robots. So even with 20%, we will be far away from replacing that specialty. Hyun G. Dr. Son, what's the future role of the sector? If it's medicine or healthcare in general, that's a very broad question. Please be a bit more specific about that. Another question from you. What's the doctor's role in a new area that didn't exist ever? Like if there's a new medical specialty forming, well, the job of a physician will always be the same, I think. Providing compassionate care, providing empathy, and trying to summarize the data coming from patients, the insights we can learn, we can have from medical textbooks and experience and peer support, and then try to come up with something only the human brain can come up with. Even if we have new medical specialties in the future, I think that's going to be the same. Look at lifestyle medicine. We just wrote about lifestyle medicine a few weeks ago. This seems to be a very new medical specialty forming in front of our eyes, and physicians will have a role in that. They will have to summarize the information from primary care, the use of technologies, digital literacy and all these, and then try to come up with something useful that will impact the lives of patients on the long term. So that's how. Fabio Moraes, thank you for the question. Could you touch on a good master or PhD programs for someone interested in innovation in healthcare or AI applications? I cannot, because I could point to 30 medical institutions where they have at least any kind of PhD programs or master programs focusing on digital health or artificial intelligence. Actually, I checked. I've been working on a course for a medical association. I can't yet tell you which one. And for them, I found about 7 or 8 master programs across the globe. There are not many. If you do a search for digital health master program, you will find about 20 of them altogether. So, you know, I might have some insights about which one seems to be better, but I haven't taken place in any. So I think as only the best universities can offer such programs, you will do quite well by choosing any of the, you know, prestigious universities or medical institutions out there. Ive Cherepesh, thank you. Exciting talk ahead. Marcy, is Google Health useful? If you mean Google Health and how the apps on your Android phone can summarize health data coming from the Android-based health trackers, then of course it is. But if you mean Google Health as Google Health was designed 10 years ago and then it was cancelled, I don't think that is a good program or a good initiative. But in general, of course, Google is also trying to get data from our health trackers. Zion 100, let me share this question with the others too. Will nurses be replaced and with specialties? It's an exciting topic. We published analysis about the future of the nursing profession. And if I have to choose one profession or specialty within healthcare that's almost impossible to get replaced, that would be nursing. You know, there is a Moravec paradox in AI research that is about the idea that it's much easier to develop an AI algorithm that can monitor the stock market and make good decisions than to deliver an algorithm that can make a robot take the steps or you know, sit down in a chair or just walk around, open a door. These are very hard things to code into an algorithm. The nursing profession is incredibly diverse. They have to take care of people, deal with people, talk to them, physically help them, support them. There are so many things involved in the nursing profession that developing robots for taking over the job simply doesn't make any sense, and it will be incredibly expensive. And to be honest, no matter how awful it sounds, it's much easier to employ people doing that profession than to develop robots for the same purpose. Julio Sid, or Kid, I'm sorry if I pronounce your names in the wrong way. Do you think diagnosis will be automated and doctors will stop doing it? I'm sure that a lot of elements in the diagnostic decision-making process should be automated, not because in this way we can make better diagnosis, but because we can make quicker diagnosis. I have the data in myself already, and maybe an app, an algorithm, a device could give me insights about what to expect next. But if I have to wait for a symptom to appear and then go to a medical professional to ask for help, it takes more time. So in that sense, I think the diagnostic process should be automated, but I don't see any, even the most futuristic scenarios where physicians don't take a part in that. They will. And we will talk about the skills required for the future of medical specialties. There are 33 million medical papers on PubMed.com. Of course, an AI can read many of those, and a physician cannot. But summarizing the information is on a different level. Maybe artificial general intelligence will be able to get meaningful insights out of that, but we are so far away from that for now. Christoph Ludani, that's a very exciting question about the future of radiology. Thank you for asking that. Will AI replace the diagnostic part of radiology, and physicians will rather do the interventional part? I do agree that, and I will share analysis with you in a second, that the repetitive elements of any medical specialty's job should be replaced by automation. And yes, the interventional part is more manual, so of course physicians will keep on doing that. But I don't see the first part being entirely replaced by automation, but rather AI flagging those cases that should be reviewed by medical professionals. So not checking all of them and that's it, checking all of them, and when it's absolutely certain that it can make the right decision, then it's done. But for those that might require the human expertise, I would flag those by the AI. So I think that's a model that could work in the future. Fabio Moraes, do doctors need to learn how to program, like Python? I've tried. Of course I know HTML. I tried Python too. I spent a few months trying to improve my skills in that. Even after months, I didn't see how this knowledge would contribute to my future job. I don't think we have to learn how to code, but we do have to learn how to understand how programmers code. I hope I can explain myself well enough here. I don't want to know the details of Python. I know that most machine learning algorithms are written in Python. I don't want to understand how the code itself works, but I want to understand how programmers write those codes. So when they come across a medical challenge, which I also face in my practice, then I would understand what they go through, so I would be able to help them overcome that obstacle. But it's just a big picture understanding of how a programming language works. Literally just playing with Lego Mindstorm and building Lego robots that you can program through a very simple programming language, even kids can do that. I think that's more than enough to understand how coding itself works. Thank you for the question. Onat Önol, again we go back to the career choices, which I'm not even saying I'm not the right person to give you the answer about this. Nobody is. Do you think taking a biomedical engineering master's degree is a good choice? For whom? For a medical professional who just graduated from medical school, from someone being in engineering and who wants to get into healthcare, digital health and such advanced technologies? In both ways, I would say if that's the career you want to pursue, if you're interested in developing something in healthcare from the technological perspective, then biomedical engineering sounds very exciting. I mean, I guess it's an endorsement, but if I could start all over again, maybe instead of my PhD in clinical genomics, I would have gone into that field, but I'm not good enough in math and physics to do that. But that's how much envy I feel for those who go into biomedical engineering. Samantha J. Talpir, let me share the questions with others. How will AI affect longevity? What do you think are the fields that will change the most? Well, if you've been here for most of my sessions, you know how I look at longevity. I know people talk about medications that might reverse aging and make aging itself a condition we can treat. But I believe that the power of the empowered patient movement, that the fact that I can access my data, I can measure data about myself, I can share those insights with my physicians, this idea itself has a much larger role in my own longevity than the medications we might have in 30 years from now. But AI will impact longevity from that perspective, because if physicians can make better decisions based on my huge amount of data and lifestyle insights, then it might lead to longer lifespans. Just for a second, thank you so much for bringing these questions along. Amazing questions, very long ones, I love all these. Just for a second, let me jump into analysis that we have been doing, and then I come back to you. Not that one. Give me a second here. This one. So, the impact of digital health technologies on the future of medical specialties is an infographic we published a while ago. And here is the infographic. I make it a bit bigger for you. That's the point here, that I don't want to tell you how this or that medical specialty will change. Instead, I want to tell you the kind of window or perspective I've been trying to use to assess each medical specialty by that impact. In that case, I chose two perspectives. One was about how interaction-based, so talking with patients is a core essential of that specialty, versus how data-based that specialty is, dealing with data about or derived from the patient. The other perspective was how creative that job is, everything is different every single day, versus how repetitive elements that job contains. A large part of the job is the same every day. And through those two perspectives, you can put every specialty in a special place. Like psychiatry is obviously on the interaction-based versus data-based perspective. It's on the interaction-based end of the scale, because every psychiatric intervention and treatment is different, and you need to talk with the patient, and everything changes as you talk with the patient. So of course, it's interaction-based, and it's much more creative than repetitive. By the way, being repetitive doesn't mean that it's a bad or boring medical specialty. It just means the pure fact that that job contains repetitive tasks or elements. Radiology is another example. It's much more database. Many radiologists don't even see the patients. They just see the cases, the CT scans, the X-ray scans. So it's very much data-based, and it's more repetitive than creative. So if you start putting these medical specialties on those two scales, you will get 4 groups. One group here on the bottom left corner is about how many repetitive components of the jobs will be replaced by technologies to create space for creative tasks. So again, not replacing people working in those specialties, but replacing the repetitive components so they can focus more on creative tasks. This group includes dermatology, ophthalmology, radiology, a little bit of cardiology. This group here, in this group, technology will play a limited role, like otolaryngology, pulmonology, dentistry, and geriatrics. In this group, the digital health technologies will play a quite important role, but it won't change their interaction-based nature, psychiatry, neurology, general practice, and so on. And these professions will include and will be heavily dependent on digital health technologies, and medical professionals will work with them on a daily basis. Sports medicine, surgery, pathology, emergency medicine, oncology, and so on. Only 20 medical specialties are on this image, and I shared the link with you in the chat section, so you can check it out later. Oh, okay, you did that already. Thank you for that. Thank you for it's a great infographic, thank you. But this way you can put the specialties, you can create your own two perspectives that matters to you. If you want to have a creative job, then use the creative versus repetitive perspective. If you want to have a a job where you have plenty of freedom, then use the freedom versus limitation or limited time perspectives. And try to think about those specialties and put them somewhere along those two lines. And then you will have a good picture about what you can expect from that specialty in 10, 15 years from now. All right, going back to the questions. Kwame Amofa has a question about blockchain technology, and it's an amazing question, and we did write analysis about that, but today we have to focus on the future of doctors. So please, Judith, if you could include the link about the blockchain article we have, then that would answer the question. All right. Mirma Hussein, could technology decrease the medical education years, the training years? In other words, most of the info, rather than being memorized, will be accessible at any time and any place. It's a beautiful question, but it's not different. Asking this question is not different from asking that 30 years ago. 30 years ago, anyone could have asked the exact same question. Now all the knowledge can be found in medical textbooks, so why we have to memorize all these things? Then everything can be found on the internet in the 90s, so why should we memorize all these things in textbooks? Or now everything can be accessed through artificial intelligence-based algorithms and services through textbooks and medical studies and so on, so why should we memorize all these things? You see, the reason why we have to memorize all these things is that the human knowledge is much more than just to memorize those things. It's about the way we human beings can look at medical cases and the way the patient walks in, the way they come up with the first issue, the first symptom they have. All these things have an impact on the final decision. And that's why it's so important to memorize all those things. And still, we will be able to access all that information. So it might not sound so great to memorize all these things, but by building that human expertise, you will be able to summarize things not even AI can summarize. And I don't want to undervalue the potentials AI has here, but that I'm trying to a bit overestimate the potentials we human beings have here in summarizing information. Omkar Panda has an interesting question. Do you see the gap between doctors and engineers becoming smaller in the future? Absolutely. You know, the most exciting digital health startups I've seen recently have either involved a medical professional, so they knew that they wanted to address real-life patient clinical needs, and or they also included an engineer, so you know they could develop technologies for filling that gaps. Absolutely. Neuralink is in the questions. Peter Cloti, what Neuralink is doing proved that 80% of doctors can be replaced in 10 years. Combine the new wave AI and general AI with that, and it is already starting. Look, I wish you were right. I wish. It would lead to much better diagnostic and treatment decisions. It would lead to prevention and catching diseases as early as possible, but that's not how it works. You know, investors have been saying the same what you just said 5 or 10 years ago. I don't want to name them, but you can look up the quote itself that the radiologist will be obsolete in 5 years. Quite a famous investor said that about 4 years ago. So there is only 1 year left until radiology is becoming obsolete, and we are so far away from that. That's not how it works. Neuralink doesn't even have a peer-reviewed study backing their technology. Believe me, I support them. I'm a cheerleader for Neuralink, and I hope they can do what they claim they can do, or they will be able to do that in 5 years. I hope that with my full heart. But medicine is not a linear process. It's not that if I can measure everything about you now, then I would obviously come up with the best solutions. That's unfortunately not how it works. Repetitive tasks, of course, take them away from me, and I would love to focus on the creative components of my job or deal with patients and provide compassionate care. But again, medicine doesn't work that way, unfortunately. All right. Martin de Geer, you have amazing names, and I have very hard time pronouncing your name in the right way. Again, I'm sorry about that. Do we have to wait for a new generation of doctors for smart tech to get mainstream in patient care? What is the best way of introducing new digital tools to the more senior physicians? Two excellent questions. Thank you for asking both. About the first one. 10 years ago, when I started teaching medical students about digital health, I said that, of course, we don't have to wait for a new generation, because it's about a cultural transformation. That's what we call digital health. So it's only about how we people look at these advanced technologies and how we can learn to work with them. I'm still very optimistic, but I see why people keep on asking such questions. But the reason why is not that we need more time for that. The reason why we have to talk about this is that if we embrace that digital health is indeed a cultural transformation, not a technological one, then we don't have to wait for a new generation. Because if you understand why a physician rejects these technologies, smart technologies, if I don't focus on that I want to persuade them not to reject it, but I want to understand why. Maybe they feel that they will get replaced by those, or which is ungrounded, or they feel that these technologies will make them not enjoy their job so much more. Then it's something I can understand and we can work with. And if we understand these emotional components behind their decisions, we can help them get on the same page. If we again do that and focus on the cultural, emotional components of how people react to digital health and smart tech, then we have to wait a few years. If we focus on the technologies and we want to push this through, it might take a few decades. Oh, and a second question. What is the best way of introducing new digital tools? Yes, by embracing the cultural transformation. By not showing them new gadgets, but by asking them how you think we could make your job better. What repetitive components your job contains. What are the parts of your job that you simply don't like? And maybe if we could take that away, it would give you much more time to do something that you do like. Everybody will understand that. And I've been doing this sort of exercise with medical professionals, older ones who I used to meet in medical conferences. I almost said that, every week or so. Well, it used to be the case 1 year ago. But still, I do talk to medical professionals like that. And when I do it this way, they understand, they tell me their reasons. They have a fear that technology takes away the human touch, and that's why they reject it. And of course, we can now talk about what if there are technologies that can give you more time and freedom to even practice more the human touch, and then they start understanding how it works. That's how we have to focus on the cultural components. Omkar Pandey, it's a great question. What was the last thing you saw which blew your mind? I guess it has to be about a digital health technology. Well, I received, I'm looking on my shelves here, I received an AI guided portable ultrasound device. I will show it to you in the next session or so. That's pretty mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing enough when I first used the portable ultrasound device, not having any skills in doing ultrasound examinations. But now that I can still do that on my smartphone with the probe, but an AI guides me through it, that's science fiction. I feel like science fiction every time I use it. FB, it's a very mysterious name, has a question about AI. Can AI have harmful effects on doctors' knowledge, or will they need the same amount of training, if not more, to get used to this upgraded system? What a beautiful question. For those who don't understand the issue here, there is a chance that if an AI can always give me the right insights, the right solutions, can always support me to make the best decisions, and I can even analyze it retrospectively that, again, yes, it supported me and I could make the best decisions, then why would we keep on thinking actively when AI tell me just what to do and then I will get along with that? But the second point of your question is the right thing, is the right idea here. To be able to understand the basics of practicing medicine, you still have to go through formal training like before, like 50 years ago. And to understand how to work with such technologies, to understand liability here, to understand what I can expect from that specific AI algorithm and how it can contribute to my medical decision making, I would say it would require twice the amount of medical training medical students have been receiving so far. I don't want to be too pessimistic about that, but I would say twice as much. All right, just a few things about the skills, and I come back to the questions. Thank you so much again. Please keep them coming. Amazing session. At least I'm enjoying the session. It's one thing to talk about how digital health technologies will impact the future of medical specialties, but the other thing, which is much more general, is to talk about what skills physicians will need in the future. I would say even by today, because the future I usually talk about has been the present for many years. Digital health is now part of the medical profession globally. And skills include digital literacy, understanding how to work with digital technologies, understanding the privacy issues here, not learning how to code, but to understand the risks that come with using these technologies, to understand how to analyze data coming from patients, from their health records, to understand the technological issues patients go through, Bluetooth connection, or how to download the raw data from their health record, to learn how to work in this new patient-doctor relationship, which is not the hierarchical, traditional one like before, but an equal-level partnership that requires new communicational skills. To learn to work with empowered patients who are, patients. Some of them are patient scholars publishing in medical journals. To learn the value of empathy, creativity, and problem solving. These are all really important skills, and Judith can share this article with you in the comment section, so you can check it out later yourself too. Pretty Negi, any words on psychiatry? I just covered it before. We have an article about the future of psychiatry. It's a very much interaction-based service, so I don't think that it will be heavily impacted by advanced technologies. They will have some impact on it, but it will not change fundamentally in the next 5 to 10 years. Omkar Panda, thank you. It's an amazing channel. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Why not allow super chats? I'm sure many would love to contribute. Thank you so much for that. We have all these sessions for free for you, and even the recording will be published on our YouTube channel later on. I will tell you at the end how you can support the Medical Futurist team, but we plan to keep this channel absolutely free for everyone. Carmel Miller, this is fascinating. How do you manage to relax? If you do, from Israel, welcome. I do. Not during live sessions. Now I guess my heart rate is 83. It's not that bad. I meditate every day, at least 20 minutes. I have a breathing relaxation session, which consists of modules, so I can change that once in a while so I don't get bored. But I do meditate every single day. Otherwise, I'm sure that all the COVID situation and even my job would have quite an impact on my mental and emotional health. Thank you for the question. All right. Are you sure you can't hear me? I see that there are some comments about the sound being off. Is it off? Everything seems to be okay from my end. Can you please confirm that you can hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I get a bit closer. Okay, yes, excellent. Thank you. All right, future of ophthalmology. We have an article about the future of ophthalmology too on medicalfuturist.com. That's why I don't cover it here, because you can read all the details about that on medicalfuturist.com. FB has another question. Does technology heavy diagnosis affect the patient's psyche? If there is a lack of it, because obviously we are not in the future, we still don't have androids replacing nurses. That's actually a very smart question, because it does. I mean, let me tell you my own experience. I'm on both sides. I'm a physician by training, but I'm also an empowered patient, having an excellent primary care physician, and we work on a preventive plan, so I might have a chance for a longer and healthier life. I know I don't, but those things that depend on me will not depend on me. I'm dedicating efforts, time, energy into this. That's why I'm just telling you that I'm also on the patient side here. And making diagnosis by using the data I get from my smartwatch, health trackers, genomic services, and so on, it does affect your mental health, because it makes you anxious. You know how hard it is to wait for the results of a genetic test that not even you ordered, not your medical professional ordered for you, but you wanted to see those results. It makes you anxious. It does come with some anxiety, and physicians need to have skills in dealing with these expectations patients might have about using technologies in their diagnostic procedures. So yes, it does affect the psyche. Kwame Amofa, do you foresee a conflict between future doctors and their AI-based diagnostic tools? How do we resolve the trust issues that may develop between human doctors and digital tools? What an amazing question. Absolutely, and we don't even have to foresee this. You look at any physician working today, working with some kind of technologies, even with a stethoscope, they have such conflicts. Maybe these conflicts are not so, they don't have such a heavy impact on their daily jobs, but they do have conflicts because some gadgets come up with the wrong answers. Just one example, I did an ECG analysis. We recorded a video about doing a 6-lead ECG, and the ECG came back being with a warning sign, and I knew that I didn't have any issues, but I held the gadget in the wrong way, so there was some noise. So I had to do it again, and then it was okay. These things are conflicts. But you are right, when it becomes not just about using a stethoscope or a digital stethoscope, but an AI algorithm giving you human-looking insights, these will lead to conflicts. But I look at these conflicts as something that can lead to the improvement of the medical profession in general. But for this, we have to teach medical professionals how to deal with such conflicts, how to get the most. I talked about this before, but I started learning chess hours every day. I've been learning chess for 2,000 hours in the last 1.5 years. Yeah. And the reason why is that I wanted to have a common language with AI, but in the meantime, what I really learned is the method that I keep on bumping my head into a wall, but after a while I realized that let's use a different method here, and then I just break through. But then there's another wall again. The same method should be used in working with these technologies. That there's a conflict, okay, let's deal with this, let's understand each other, let's learn how to work with it. There might be a big breakthrough, and then I will have a different conflict. But having conflicts along the way is a good thing. It makes us reach those breakthroughs. So yeah, thank you for asking that. Julio Sid, is there any time where doctors won't be the ones who take decisions? Talking about who will have the legal responsibility for those decisions. I don't see that in the foreseeable future. I can't give you a medical specialty where it's possible. AI is contributing to decision support, but not making decisions on themselves. And you might get surprised, but we have a great article about that. Here it is. The 5 levels of automation. We have an infographic about the 5 levels. Human only, shadow mode, AI assistance. We have these 2 today. Partial automation, meaning that AI is making decisions and only flags those cases that should be reviewed by medical professionals. We don't see many of these happening. And full automation only happens in very tiny, very specified areas. So I just don't see that happening in real life in the foreseeable future. Future of orthopedic surgery. Thank you, Blee, for the question. We have an article about that on medicalfuturist.com, both about sports medicine and rehabilitation and about surgery alone. LDLO M. This is also real amazing questions, guys. Thank you so much for asking these. The diagnostic and treatment assistants. Do you think general practitioners will be independent of specialists? I think the GPs will be even more connected to specialists. I think first of all, primary care will be a technological line, talking to a chatbot based on AI. You won't get the luxury of getting to a physician right away with every health issue you have. So the first line is a technological line. Then secondary care will be the primary care we know today, and then the third line will be about specialists. And all these 3 lines will be so much interconnected that primary care physicians will have to have a great knowledge about a network, about which specialists to use for different health issues their patients face. How would an increasing number of healthcare think tanks across the world help advance different medical specialties? It's an interesting question. It's a different topic inside that future of doctors topic. Like, look at my own case. I'm a medical doctor, but I don't practice medicine. I'm a trained researcher, but I don't do research in the area I got my PhD in. I'm in futuristic studies, a very different social sciences compared to life sciences where I'm coming from. And I still like to believe that I can contribute to better understanding what's going on, because my job, I would say 12 hours a day. My wife would say it's a bit more, even on weekends, but I love my job. My job is to analyze the trends and the technologies physicians don't look at because they have to practice medicine. Healthcare managers don't look at because they have to deal and manage their healthcare institutions. Policymakers don't look at because they have to provide policies. So these are the kind of gaps where think tanks like the Medical Futurists can come handy. Gary C. with noticeable improvement in usability of personal knowledge management software. Any thoughts on how these might bridge memory and artificial intelligence in pattern recognition? What a great question, yet I have no idea. I guess you are referring to those systems that might look at our health data and my lifestyle choices, my daily routine and habits, and come up with suggestions. Or please specify. I don't have enough knowledge about this technology, but if this exists, I just became quite interested in writing about that later on, doing some analysis, of course, first. Thank you. Lorenzo Valacca, how do you see the involvement of publishers in digital health, and most in relation to big data AI? Publishers are a great source of data knowledge, so how will they join this big stream? You know, the issue with that is we see amazing technologies becoming available and accessible, but until there is no study publication about them, no medical professional can use them, because we follow the guidelines of evidence-based medicine. So publishers have a great publishers of medical journals have a great responsibility in supporting that, making the whole process much more bearable. You know, I publish studies in medical journals, and I review medical papers myself for prestigious journals. I'm on both sides. I hate both sides. What if this process could be a bit more streamlined? Now there are some advanced medical journals that really made the whole process, even the review process, quite bearable. But it's some rare exceptions. But medical publishers on the medical textbook side have an even greater responsibility, because they might use the same methods they used before. I get these emails once every week about, let's write a book together. There's an editor asking me that let's contribute with a chapter, and then they will summarize all these different chapters. But by the time each editor finishes their job and the editor-in-chief puts together all these, it's outdated. So they have to change the format, the structure of these textbooks to be able to more dynamically represent the scientific reality of today. Ada Lovelek, I hope I pronounce your name well enough. How much time a radiologist needs to read an MRI image? It depends on the MRI image, it depends on the case. It can be minutes to an hour. It's a very strange question to ask. In some fields, companies literally move into the hospitals with their own technicians, like 3D experts. Will this shape the future of specialties permanently? Martin De Geer, thank you for the question. I see such examples taking place, especially in 3D printing, because some technologies are so hard to be used without technical engineering help. Those cannot play a role in the practice of medicine. Therefore, I see the same thing happening in 3D printing prosthetics, 3D printing casts for broken limbs, and even 3D printing medications, very rare cases around the world, mostly in the UK and the US. These can change the way those medical specialties are, the way they work in practice, but just slightly. Because if I'm a traumatologist and I want to give the option to my patients to use to get a 3D printed cast instead of the plaster cast, because these look much better and you can have a relatively normal life while having the 3D printed cast on. And I want to give them the opportunity. I can learn how to 3D print them, but more probably I will have somebody, a technician, working on that, and I just keep on providing the choice, not the technology itself. So I have to have knowledge about the technology so I can know about the risks and the expectations, but I don't think that I would have to learn how to use that technology. Alex Rios, what do you think about the application of synthetic biology into the medical field? This is an excellent topic, not really my area of expertise, but coming from genomics, synthetic biology has always been something that fascinated me, to learn how artificially made strains of bacteria could help remove plastic from the oceans or carbon dioxide from the air. It's fascinating, but looking at medicine, I've only seen examples in medication, developing new medications. How some antibiotics are being made, but otherwise I don't see how synthetic biology has contributed to the everyday practice of medicine besides that example, but it's a fascinating field. Blee, how will next generation AI be implemented in healthcare? Should it be from private companies or the governments? How to make sure that data is not leaked? We have covered this before. We had a session about artificial intelligence about 2 sessions before, or 1 session, I don't even remember. I think it can come from both or either. I don't care. It can come from a patient-owned organization, it can come from a government, it can come from a startup company from a different country, and I could still access their AI-based algorithm. I don't care. It should just, the only thing that matters here is that it is backed by evidence in peer-reviewed studies. Nothing else matters. Future of obstetrics, we have an article about that on medicalfuturist.com, so please feel free to check that out. Alright, just for a second, we have a few questions here. How can we, I got it from Eventbrite, how can we as medical students and young medical residents shift towards digital health? By doing it, by this I mean that you have to use digital health technologies. It's not something you can learn without using it. By understanding the needs empowered patients have, by understanding the risks you take while using such technologies, and by understanding the risks you take by not using such technologies and only depending on traditional tools we used even decades ago. So digital literacy is the one skill that you definitely need. That's where I would start for sure. What medical specialties are likely to make great impact in African countries to improve digital health there? I think any of those medical specialties that can provide care remotely, even through telemedicine, dermatology, primary care practices, radiology. So anything that allows patients to send in data and still get back valuable medical insights. There's an interesting question from Ravi Kamerpalli. How soon will hospitals without walls be a reality across the healthcare spectrum? What are the hindrances apart from cost to make that a reality? I'm not sure that we want to see hospitals without walls. I understand the concept that it means, or it implies that hospitals have to move where patients are. Patients have to become the point of care. That's the whole goal of the digital health revolution here. And we wrote 2 analyses 2 weeks ago. One about hospital design within the point of care, within the walls of hospitals. And the other one was outside the point of care, wherever patients are. Emergency medicine, the patient's homes, smart homes, and so on. So I think this trend has been taking shape already, and not even the cost is the big thing that I see as a hindrance here, but the approach that policymakers and many medical professionals have about using such technologies, that's why it's still a cultural transformation to tackle. And there was one more question. What I covered this before. How can we use seniors to advance the adoption of medical technologies? I talked about that before. Future, yes, we have a future of obstetrics article. It's OB-GYN, and the future of pregnancy as well. We cover that from both perspectives. Of course, Kwame, thank you. It's very kind from you. Much love and respect to you and your team. Thank you. It's very kind. Oh, Ada, okay, I'm working on a computer software that can read brain MRI images, and I'm not sure if it's useful for radiologists. There is one thing you can do. We published a study about all the FDA-approved AI-based medical technologies, and some of them are reading MRI images. Maybe you want to look at those real-life examples approved by the FDA, and then determine whether the one that you are developing could contribute to the field or not. Plus, I would reach out to radiologists if I were you, to ask them, because they meet real-life challenges, not us. Réka Magyari, how do you see the role of ethics in implementing technologies such as AI, machine learning in healthcare from both care provider and the patient perspective? The patient perspective is simple for me. As long as I'm the one deciding how much of my privacy, freedom I'm willing to give up in exchange for a chance for a longer and healthier life, I'm ethically fine. As long as I'm the one deciding that. Not my country, not my healthcare provider, not my health insurance company. From the provider's perspective, as a physician, I have an obligation to help my patients, to support them in their health or disease management. If I have to use technologies for that, then my obligation is to learn how to use them. Ethically, that's how I look at those. If you are interested in something more specific, please let me know. Would robots be able to give vaccines under the supervision of a doctor in the future? Could this expedite the vaccination campaign in future pandemics maybe? I don't think so. We wrote about on medicalfuturist.com about robots taking blood samples. You cannot imagine how much rejection we've seen from the community. And we have about 700,000 followers worldwide. Most of you are quite technology savvy people. You love technologies, just want to understand how to use them in healthcare and medicine. Even about just taking a blood sample in a very standardized method was something people rejected altogether. So to think that they put something into us, vaccination through a robot, I think we are much slower than that to adopt these new things. What is the perspective of rehabilitation doctor in general? We have an article on medicalfuturist.com about the future of sports medicine and rehabilitation, and we covered so many issues in that. I hope you can check it out. GFFA, I'm a young doctor from Brazil, and it seems to me that many specialties might lose market value in the future. What a strange question to ask. That's not even a question. But I understand the point. If the market value is about how promising those specialties seem to be, to pursue them, I understand that those seem to be changing. If I'm a medical student right now and I want to pursue a career in radiology, I look at how technologies like automation will impact my specialty. I will see that it will heavily impact my specialty. So what do I think then? That I will get replaced, that radiologists will get replaced, or that, well, I might have a specialty very soon where I have no repetitive components in my job, only creative components. Maybe I can use the spare time I win by removing the repetitive elements of my job and use that spare time to get into biomedical engineering and build an AI for even better analysis in radiology. You see, I understand the traditional market value decreasing, but the additional market value that is based on the access to technologies just made it even more attractive. I would look at from this perspective. Masoud, I have no expertise in international pain management. I'm sorry about that. Yes, Abis, Judith will send you the link for the sports medicine article. I think you will see it in a second. Christina Booth, I'm a graduating FM resident. I'm thinking about a master's in health informatics. Is that the best field to implement new tech, or is there a better way to go about increasing my knowledge and expertise? Excellent question. First of all, congratulations and good luck to you. Second, we have to make a clear distinction between health IT, informatics, and digital health. I have the Gary rule, I published it in a medical journal. The Gary rule means that if I have a technological issue in healthcare and I can call Gary the IT guy and he can solve it for me, like the antivirus software is running out, or I can't use a specific program on my laptop, it's an health IT issue. If my patients want to bring their data from their health trackers into the medical records we have, and I can't do that, I can call Gary the IT guy, but he won't solve it for me. We need policymakers, new policies, guidelines for medical associations. That's a cultural, thus digital health issue. If you're interested in health IT issues more, then health informatics is your right program to pursue. If you're interested in digital health more, you might want to look at digital health programs. There are many master programs in digital health as well. So, Christina, good luck to you. Planning to do specialization in medical genetics. Do you think it's a good choice? As a career choice, it's an excellent choice. I come from genomics myself, from the clinical sides of genomics. Medical genetics hasn't even reached its peak. We are decades away from medical genomics being on the top. Millions of people have had genetic tests already. Tens of millions will have genetic tests in the future, and they will need your expertise to help them with that. So of course, it's a very exciting field to pursue. So then how will people accept the implantation of microchips if just blood sample fail? Absolutely. I don't think they will accept microchips, implantation of microchips. I had an RFID microchip, but even my wife rejected my chance to get implanted. I don't think people will want to get implanted. Some people, maybe a few millions, will want that implantation, but hundreds of millions will just not want it and keep on not wanting it too. Medical genetics, I just covered that, and we have time for one or two questions. Samantha, how do you see the hospital physical facilities changing? What an amazing question to ask. Last week we had 2 articles, one about hospital design, the physical facilities changing. We had a quite long analysis and interviews about that. Please check it out. And yes, architectural changes are needed, and that's why we will have an article next week about the ideal hospital of the future. We write everything down we think are important for the ideal hospital. What field do you think requires extensive research still? All of the medical specialties require extensive research behind them. I don't see any differences in that. And with that, as we ran out of time, I thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you all for being here with me today, for asking these great questions. I don't even know how dozens of questions, very detailed, very smart questions. Thank you so much for all that. The recording of this live Q&A will be published on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Medical Futurist YouTube channel if you haven't done it already. We will come up with some exciting videos in the next couple of weeks as well, like usual. We will keep on publishing analysis on medicalfuturist.com and analysis daily on all the major social media channels, everything for free. But there are 2 ways you can support what we do at the Medical Futurist. One is that you can become a patron at patreon.com/themedicalfuturist. This way you support what we do, so we can keep on providing free content. But for the patrons, we provide for them content we don't share anywhere else. Only patrons receive specialized interviews, reports, analysis coming personally from me every single day. And the second way you can support us is if you buy executive summaries, ebooks that we publish. And we have an ebook for you today, for which we have a 50% discount. This ebook is about the future of medical specialties, and we cover the future of 20 most popular medical specialties in that. So please feel free to check those out. Thank you so much for that. We will keep having these live Q&A sessions about every 2 or 3 weeks. We will always publish the topics we cover next time. And I hope you get vaccinated like I just did. I hope you are having a great day, and thank you so much for being here with me, and see you next time. This was Dr. Meskó and the Medical Futurist. Thank you again.